Hey everyone, Brandon here with Northern Strength Fitness. I just got a new episode out here with Casss you guys are about to watch or listen to. But a quick disclaimer, forgot to hit record on my fancy mics there, so the audio quality might not sound as crisp and as clean as usual. But Cass is rocking it in this podcast. She is one of our trainers and also a registered therapist. So you guys are going to get a lot of information from us. Mainly from her. She rocked it. So enjoy the episode and remember to subscribe and share. Thanks for tagging along. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Northern Strength Fitness Podcast. Brandon here, joined today by Cass from Melfort. Cass, how's it going today?
It's going really well, thanks Brandon.
That's good. So Cass is, if you guys don't know, she is one of our trainers at Northern Strength Fitness. What are all the things that you do for us there, or try to fit in your crazy schedule, which we'll get to later on? But what do you do for us here at Northern Strength Fitness in Tisdale?
So I do personal training. I've done some nutrition coaching, as well as I teach spin and a Tabata class.
There you go. So she's got a few different things that she has offered. So if you guys don't know who she is, you guys want to come say hi to her, she's there on
Mondays at 5:30.
Mondays, and sometimes every now and then, because today is
Saturday.
It's a Saturday morning. You just finished your workout. What'd you hit today?
I did back core, and then I practiced my spin class.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or is it like a secret of what's going on in the spin class?
No, it's just the same thing I taught last week, except 2 new songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of music we got in there?
I typically use remixes of like 90s and 2000s bangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 90s, 2000 bangers at Northern Strength Fitness, Cass on Monday. Cool. So that gives you guys a little bit of insight on what Cass does here. So today we're kind of just going to have some fun, have a conversation. Cass has been on a few other podcasts, so she's been kind of poking me to get her on here. So just I did want to get you on at some point, but I was always trying to figure out who can I get on that might be
who's cooler than Cass?
not cooler. I just already knew that I had you lined up, so I was who else can I start messaging to get them on? I was I can just get Cass in,
because make me do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, whatever. You're a busy person, so so let's get the crowd to get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
And then I mentioned already with your busyness twice. So tell us, kind of a week/day in the life of you within the last let's say year or so, because I know you've transitioned from stuff before. Maybe we can dive back into that later on. But
yeah.
What's your typical life looking like these days?
So on Mondays, I mentor a cognitively delayed adult, and then I go to my private practice in Melfort, and I do therapy there from 12 to 4. Then I get my daughter, we rip to Tisdale. I teach 2 classes back to back. Then I go pick her up, and we drive back to Melfort. On Tuesdays, I'm in my own clinic. Wednesdays and Thursdays, I go to Saskatoon, and I work in another practice there, as well as I'm a counselor at Great Plains College for Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then Friday back to Melfort. Yeah. And then I'm a billet mom and wife.
The billet mom and the wife. And the billet mom is for
the Melfort Mustangs.
Melfort. And you've been doing that for how long?
9 years.
Yeah. And then how busy would that be included onto are you guys on the road lots with that? Or?
We try to follow the boys as much as we can. I'd like to give them an experience that they're home. Mm-hmm. So if that means we follow them to Humboldt, Nipawin, Flin Flon, wherever we can to make sure that they feel supported, yeah. And then I'm obviously a little neurotic about their nutrition, so you're not required to do what I do, but I make all their breakfast to make sure that they're getting a lot of protein to start the day. I handle their lunch, their supper, their snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I go a little bit above and beyond, but...
So that's a nutshell, a week in the life of Cass.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff going on.
Thanks. Yeah.
I know. So do you have downtime, where you're just chilling at all ever?
Well, in Saskatoon, I get to go to a different gym there on Wednesday nights, and that feels like a chill because I don't have to be nice to anyone there. I don't work at that gym, so someone leaves a dumbbell around, that's not a me problem. Yeah. It's kind of nice.
You don't have to be. I'm sure you're still nice.
It's nice, but I don't feel like I have to greet everybody that walks in the door.
Yes, that's true. I know, and I told this to someone the other day, and I could definitely see that because you could see behind me the people got the workout stuff. So I use this gym sometimes just because to have that face on in the business all the time when it's okay now even if it's working out, it's people probably judge me because I'm sitting there exercising, and they're oh. And then sometimes people make fun of me, oh, you're actually working out today. I was you guys, the reason I don't work out in front of you guys all the time because it's just kind of it gets draining after,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
a
not
while.
a me thing anymore.
Yeah, it's always being on, right? So that's why I was wondering, like, where do you get your chance to rest and recuperate?
Yeah. On Friday nights, actually, because I'm a therapist, I take on a lot of people's emotions. So Fridays, I typically actually like, I probably look like I'm having a seance, but I light a ton of candles in my home gym and I play really sad music and I stretch.
Okay.
Yeah. And it just allows me to feel my own feelings rather than feeling other people's. And I can separate what's mine and what's theirs. And then allowing my body to stretch and take up space and, yeah, come back to myself.
It sounds like something that probably not, like, I don't know if I would put on sad music, but the emotional connection that you have to any kind of music probably would. Maybe I want to put on sad music.
Yeah,
but
if I'm stretching, it's just, I don't know. I just like, you probably think I'm getting divorced if you listen to this song.
it's like,
Chelsea Ballerini's album right now on her divorce.
Jerry's probably like,
Oh, that's not good.
yeah, like, not this song again.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I do to relax. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that unwinding time and having time to recuperate, re-energize. Because then when you are as busy as you just said you were, then I think without that time, it's probably overwhelming.
It would be. Yeah. But my mom said I always burnt the candle at both ends, so she worries about me when I'm not.
It's like, what's going on? Why are you slowing down? Like, this is a normal you.
Yeah.
Do we need to talk?
Yeah, you're not handling 17 things at once. What's going on?
Yes. All right. So we're going to have a fitness podcast. Let's dive into kind of your background with fitness and where you started, I guess what kind of got you into it, and then the journey along. So where was like your first like endeavor into exercise or
Okay.
sport or a little bit of
Yeah.
everything?
So I actually started as a dancer. When I was 3, my grandma put me in dance at Juliet's. So I danced until grade 10. And then I joined like pom squad and cheerleading. And I did that through high school. And then just before I got married, I decided to join a gym. So it was Quantum at the time. Quantum Fitness. They got bought out by Motion Fitness eventually. But I took classes because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I stood in the back row by the fan. Did that really big fan. That was my spot. And I just fell in love with group fitness. And then halfway through, I was down 40 pounds from working out that way. And I was just like, one day I'm going to be in the front of the class. Yeah, so that's kind of what inspired me to get into group fitness, just because I can see how well it works. And when people don't know what to do, all you have to do is show up and someone will guide you and it's a good time.
There you go.
Yeah, so then I took actually Beachbody on demand training, so you could teach the classes. So I got certified in like kick, turbo, and plyo to start. And then I was like, I could do more than that. So then I took the ISSA personal training. And then, so then I taught for a while in Milford, and then I found you.
Perfect. Cool. So it started with dance and then
Pom
transitioned
squad. I played ball too. I played competitive baseball.
Yeah. And you did some cheer, if I remember right.
Yeah, I coached cheerleading in Milford. I coached pom squad in Saskatoon.
Okay, that's the pom. Okay.
Yeah.
The main connect pom squad. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. A little slow here.
A little bit.
I'll catch on though. All right, so let's recap then. You got into the group fitness class, which I think you touched on the cool part. Was like, hey, you started at the back and then visualized yourself in the front. And I think even today, like we did the group class in the back and had 2 really brand new people. One's like, I've never stepped foot in a gym ever before. And and then we were talking about how one person's like, yeah, like I remember being that person. It was me and one other person, like maybe about 6 months ago, they hopped in and they've made huge progression and stuff like that. And even today, there was somebody who has been here class a couple times. This is not my class. And she held a plank for like a minute and like, she's like, am I doing this right? And she was like flat like a freaking board. And I was like, yeah, you got this, right? And people were cheering for her and stuff. And just that conversation we were having after, like everyone was a good vibe and stuff. So I think that energy and the knowing what to do and that coaching that we provide and you provide is a huge investment into people's lives and stuff like that. But I find it tricky that people aren't willing to like invest into those types of things, even with their own time, but also with money. So be interested to see what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, well, I actually think a lot of times people just use excuses, and I hate to sound that like. But,
I agree. So I'm on the same track.
It's a really, really big excuse often when people say they don't have the time or they don't have the finances, because I used to own a Dairy Queen. So I know damn well how much money you spent on fast food, which could have easily paid for a gym membership a lot of times. And there were some people I would see in my drive-thru twice a day. So I know that it's kind of an allotment, and I'm not saying it's for everybody, and I know I'm privileged to be able to have the gym memberships that I have. But at the same time, if it's something that you're interested in and invested in, you'll make it work.
Okay, so you had that whole spending money elsewhere. So my thing is, I just messaged somebody. They were asking for a donation for some fundraising thing, and they used to be a gym member, and they came back. I don't have the time. I don't have the money for it. And again, this person that I know in small communities, I don't want to like name stuff, but they're out drinking 24 beer and ordering wings
Yeah.
and doing those types of things. And he said it's that kind of like if you're interested in it, and it seemed like they were at the time, but I'm having a trouble like maybe just me being picky with myself, but getting those people and then keeping them like in the gym interested. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I think that comes down to, though, like a lot of people have very negative core beliefs about themselves, but they also have this absolute need to have like rapid results. And if shit isn't different like that day, they're not coming back. And I think that's a really big misconception in the fitness industry, that like a 20-week prep changes your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can crash diet for 20 weeks and look different, sure. But if you actually invest in 3 to 4 years of fitness, which is what it takes to build that kind of muscle mass, get those routines, get those habits, and build, it's not going to be 20 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But they also don't celebrate the little wins along the way, like noticing that they actually have dedication to something. They're putting themselves first sometimes. I see a lot of moms who don't come to the gym and say they don't have time, but it's like, you do, and you're choosing not to do something as beneficial for you because you're keeping that negative narrative, right? And it feeds them in some way. Everything you do is a choice, and you're getting something from that choice. That's kind of where I'm at with that. If you want to choose to not find the time for the gym, you will.
Go look for. Well, I heard this the other day. It was how did it go? It was like, how many red cars did you see on the drive home?
Yeah, I say that to my therapy clients all the time.
Yeah. So the thing goes like, how many red cars did you see along the way? And they're like, well, I don't know. If I was to pay you $1 million for each red car that you see on your trip here, how much more attention would you pay for red cars, right? Or red vehicles in general, right? So there's opportunity out there. It's just where are you dialing your attention? Do you see enough value in those things that you should maybe focus on? Because we probably know that those are the right choices for us to make. It's just, are we willing to get that attention to it? Have we been fed enough influence and I shouldn't say sold, but kind of sold on the idea that, hey, fitness is a lifelong thing. Looking after your body is a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's a red car thing let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. I got really lucky because my grandmother, so I have her name tattooed on my arm here. She was into fitness since I was a child. So I'm talking about like 1991.
Yeah.
My grandma was doing yoga. When she died, I got her weight bench. Like, my grandma was way cooler than anyone's grandmother. And she was into like acupuncture and growing her own food way before anyone even knew what yoga was, let alone grandmas who weightlifted.
Yeah.
And that's how my grandma started every day. She weightlifted, she went for a 2K walk, and then she came home and stretched in her yoga. And that really influenced everything about my life, watching someone, especially at her age, like she learned to water ski at 65 because she could, right? Like her
That's
body
awesome.
wasn't, she actually could do a headstand until she was in her late 70s. And even when she had full-blown dementia, she was sitting in lotus in her wheelchair. Like,
It's like,
yeah, like her body still was able to do things even when though her mind was totally gone. And that is something that has really encouraged me my whole life. And then for my first bodybuilding show, I picked it because it was her birthday. And she actually died a week before my first show.
wow.
And so just being able to keep going through that prep and knowing that like that's who my grandmother is.
Yeah.
That's really where a lot of my inspiration came from. But that was a thing that she chose way before anyone did. It was a choice. There wasn't even a lot of access to things like that. And she was like, it wasn't YouTube for her to figure out yoga. She had a book. Right?
And that's, I think, just to like flip that on to like the people that might be watching this and like, oh, okay, like I don't have someone like that. Remember, people did these things before they had the little YouTube that they could watch. Like, so realistically, like your ability to learn and do things now is greater than it's ever been, right?
You have no excuse.
Yeah, but our ease to fall into those slumps of, I can do this, or see someone else and kind of, oh, that would be nice to do, but then just flip past it and then move on is like so much easier. So like the whole like phones and access to social media, like that's really an interesting thing because we're starting to see what has it been like maybe 10 years of social media. I think I got it when I started university, Facebook. So now we're starting to see how that's affecting kids and adults.
Yeah. It really is affecting a lot of people in a negative way, right? Because we're only comparing life to the highlight reel. But at the same time, we're only posting the shit we want people to see.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another thing that I don't love about it. There's not a lot of authentic posts. And I'm not going to say that I'm above it. Like, for sure, I do the exact same thing.
Yep.
But then we start trying to get value from it. And that's where I have an issue. Like, I know people who need X amount of likes on a picture for it to give them enough worth, right? When you're searching for your worth from other people, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
And that's my issue with social media.
Yeah. And I think you don't just automatically flip that switch either without being cognitively aware of like, hey, I am understanding that I'm putting this out for those likes, but I'm now going to try to mold myself to say, I don't really give a shit about what they're thinking. It's more about what I'm thinking. And I'm going to be the one that judges myself. But unless you're actually realizing that, oh, I probably should be the one that cares about myself the most and screw the other people. Not saying screw, but like their opinions ultimately don't stand up to my own opinion. But I don't think anyone really, I shouldn't say anyone. I'm sure people think that way, but that reinforcement and having like an environment that surrounds you, and I know that's kind of part of what you probably do in your new career is help people get to those realizations. And I don't want to make like assumptions and stuff, but I think that's the power of like being able to talk to someone who can then guide you through that and reinforce those positive things.
Yeah. It's a lot of, it comes down to a lot of negative beliefs with people, right? Where they think negative about themselves, but they also look for reassurance from other people. Even reassurance that what they're choosing is the right choice, right? And when you keep searching for other people to give you the answers, it's going to lead you to places you don't want to be and places that you're not happy. And like I made a post the other day just saying like, you can cut carbs, run, lift weights, do all those things. But until you are satisfied with who you are right now, that's never going to be enough. It's going to be a new maladaptive coping skill.
Yeah.
And that's just going to keep you in that exact same place.
Interesting. So on the flip of that again, so I've talked a lot about like, don't just go through life and grow through life, that message of it. So in my rationale, maybe you can give me on your insight on this, but like I'm happy with who I am, but I don't think I'd be happy if I stayed to who I am now. So how does that work within like you said? I think it kind of still works what you said, but you were talking about how like you can work all these things, but unless you like yourself now, then it doesn't really matter what you do later on.
Yeah, because if you're always chasing, I call it the moving goalpost, right? And people are always like, well, I'll be happy when, right? And it's like, you can't do that because you're never gonna hit that goalpost, because as soon as you have that, you're gonna realize, well, that didn't make me happy. And you're gonna continue and continue and continue. So what I always say is you have to actually love yourself, like yourself, and appreciate yourself right now. That doesn't mean we don't chase a different version of you or an improved version of you, right? But that means that each time we still have to be happy with who we are.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Thanks for breaking it. I was like, you gotta like break it down, and you did it like perfect. It's like you can still reach for those things, but you still have to enjoy the character, the person you are during that time. Because when you get to that goalpost, hopefully you love yourself along that journey and realize it is still just part of your journey, and you can reach for different targets. And if you fall over, that's still, I say, it's still another part of the learning process, not failure.
Yeah, it's really hard to grow from a place of hate. If you look at yourself and all you see is negative things and you hate yourself, all you're going to do is shame and blame yourself into that change. And that's kind of going to bring out a lot of childhood traumas and all that kind of stuff, because shame and blame does change people, right? That's how we've been forced to do different things. As a teacher, you know, when you give a kid shit, right, they do different, right? But if that's what you're doing the entire time you're in the gym, right, is shaming and blaming yourself, how much are you going to enjoy that?
Yeah, you're
right. I would hate that, to be looking in the mirror and telling myself every negative thing I've ever seen or heard while I'm trying to lift weights. And your subconscious mind hears that. And that's also how you start viewing everything, right? So you have to start coming from a place of at least acceptance of yourself with the goal of improvement.
Yeah, and using that whole like looking for also the positives, I think too. Like if you are like, I know for myself, I sometimes get hard on myself, and I'm learning to grow still on that. But it's like, okay, so I'm not here, but here's all the other awesome stuff that I've been able to do. So let's try to focus on those awesome wins, and let's, okay, like I said, self-reflect. Here's where I'm at now. Accept it, and then move with it.
Yeah, or even notice that you possess a skill set, right? Like even what you said, if you've been able to do X, Y, and Z, what skills got you that, right? And then being able to notice that skill and then use it towards that next goal.
Yeah.
When we can actually notice and utilize our own skills, that's a lot of where we're going to find peace and comfort, rather than looking for that social media like, or someone else, or how that person's training, or how that person's eating. If you actually follow enough true bodybuilders, they'll never share what they're eating. They won't tell you, because it's their body. It's been like it's been decided by their coach how for them to eat. And people are always like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Because if I eat what you eat, then that's it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's not how that works, right? But that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy flip of like, here's what I did.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that out there. Like in the last podcast too, Lava, my friend there, he went over that too. He's like, here's what's worked for me. And he said, my coach had to tweak it. And he said, even the pros, because he was right below that pro bodybuilder level, they sometimes have trouble peaking because their bodies are so unique and everyone's different and we're changing as you grow and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my peaks actually I actually won that show and I shouldn't have. Like it was bad. Like the night before I had abs and the next day, like I did not.
Just whoosh.
It was awful. Yeah, no, he peaked. It did not hit the same way it did the first time. Yeah.
Yeah. But that, what was I going to say? So,
I don't know.
No, that was good. That's all right. This is good for me to try to remember. It was about trying to get what other people are doing before you do it for yourself. So you can get like knowledge from other people. But I find in like a lot of culture today, and this is dealing with fitness, with business, with how to raise kids, how to almost do anything, because you're seeing people post, oh, here's how I did it, here's how I did it. And it's so easy for someone to go on and be like, here's how to do this. And they might not even have actually done it. They're just copy and pasting it from somebody else who has done it, right? And they might have and then that whole stuff that you got maybe worked for someone 10 or 3 layers ago, right? That doesn't even, that person might just be saying, oh yeah, here's how to get abs. Well, I'm sitting here, I can tell you how to get abs, but I'm just like, I'm working at it myself and I've had abs, but you know, if I've never had abs, if I can Google it and say it, it comes from a place of experience and knowledge. And I talked about that, like knowledge versus experience is like connecting the dots along the way and stuff like that. So I think you touched on some really good points there.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I find like talking to you, I learn things, which is a nice stuff. It's a good conversation to go back and forth and validate, but also challenge self. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with the next thing. So challenging and validating when you clash with someone in a sense, right? How do you handle that? What's worked for you? So that way it's not like ruining your goals or ruining relationships, because you're not always going to get along with people.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I have an anxious attachment style. So I'm adopted, so I have what's called adoption trauma. And I'm very, very good at becoming anyone I need to be liked. Adoptees are known as chameleons, right?
Yeah.
Because we had to. I got taken from one family to another to another.
So it's like a skill you learned kind of along the way.
Very young, right? So it actually has taken me a really long time to understand like who I am, who I like to be around, and what I want to do, because I was so traumatized about just being kept and being liked. And to this day, I do really struggle, and I feel like people don't like me.
Yeah.
But I've had to learn that A, I'm not going to be liked by everyone. 2, who am I going to lose in myself, becoming whoever you need me to be liked? And is that an authentic friendship or bond? No, because I'm not presenting in myself. And I've had to learn to communicate, because I'm really good at just shutting you out. Done.
I think that's how a lot of people, it's easier just to shut out and be done with it. And that communication piece is probably the trickiest one.
It is, yeah, because I don't want to tell anyone anything that's going to upset them, right?
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah.
And no one really, and you don't really want to hear things that are going to upset you, and it's changing that mindset to be like, this is for the better of it. Flipping this again, sorry, you had a great, I'm going to segue into what I was trying to get to the point of, but I've had several consultations with members and stuff, and maybe you guys are one of them if you're watching this, or maybe you were considering talking to me, but a lot of them have like this negative atonement with people challenging them now that they're the gym person and they're watching what they're eating, and they almost make fun of them in the sense that, oh, like, we can't do this anymore, we can't do that anymore. And I don't want them to get thrown off by that, right? Like, I'm losing my friends, or I don't know how to handle this. So that's where I was like, how do you deal with those confrontations? Is it worth the energy sometimes, or do you look at your environment and completely switch it? It's not an easy answer, I don't think. But
It's difficult, but at the same time, if you're around people who are actually there for you, it doesn't matter if you're the gym person, the marathon person, the goal chaser for a business person. If people are in your corner for the right reasons, they're going to support what you're doing.
yeah,
Right? And if they don't, it's a reflection of self. And typically it's coming from a place of jealousy.
yeah,
Right?
that's kind of the way I put it out.
Yeah. So if I have an example. When I was in bodybuilding heavily, right? My in-laws, I don't hate you people. They were shitty about me bringing my own food, right? Like I don't know why it bothered them that much that I wasn't eating what they were eating. I was eating my own. And I just kept showing up with my Tupperware because this is what I have to do, until finally Jared, my husband, finally just said, like, what's your deal?
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, it's rude. And it's like, we're eating, right? Yeah. And it took them a while to realize, like, no, I can't just eat burgers with you guys. Like, I have a show in this many days. Like,
Well, and people's exposure to that kind of lifestyle is very minimal, right? Sometimes your viewpoint of the world, or the worldview that you have, might not be broad enough to accept those people. So if you're into that learning mindset, then you can, hey, I understand that you got this, and not to knock on Saskatchewan too much, and I love small towns, but sometimes a lot of small town people are very stuck within that very limited life that they've had within, and especially because the world is just opening up a lot easier for travel and stuff. But a lot of those mindsets are very traditional in that sense of community or the family that they see. But lo and behold, someone that's actually a bodybuilder, like, how many bodybuilders are from, northeast Saskatchewan that have gone and being competitive, and that, like, a handful in like the last like 10 years.
yeah, there's not a lot of us. No.
So that is like the one way to deal with people, but the other one would just be and I would hate to say this for sure, but cut them out. Are you a fan of cutting out people?
I do want people to do that more, actually, because you have to look at what are you gaining from this friendship, right? And a lot of people are in relationships because of history, not because of what's actually happening. So if we do like a true and false, right? That's what I like to do, the thought. Like, are these people healthy for me? True gives you everything that, yes, this is what makes that. Then the false, right?
Yeah.
And if that false outweighs the truth, then you're staying because of history, or not staying because of what you're actually getting from these people. Yeah, I mean, I'm now in contact with my dad. Like, I will cut you out if you're not going to be a great person for me. I do try to repair a lot of relationships and have bonds and not just throw people away. But I do have to value myself. And I've gotten really lucky in the last, since I started at Carter's. My new boss, Katie. Everyone I work with there is truly one of the best people I've ever met. The whole team. And the way Katie has built the team is just unbelievably so freaking smart. Every single one of us has our own niche, because it's not easy to put 11 females in a building and have them get along.
Yeah.
Right? But each one of us has our own category for the clients we see, and none of it overlaps.
There you go.
So the empowerment from everybody, right? Because it's like, I'm the couples person, I'm the adoption person, right? So we've been able to really create this family and this support that I haven't had in years living in the Northeast. Yeah. And it's literally, if you've actually seen me in the last 6 months, you can see how much I've changed.
Yeah, no, I've definitely, and people have noticed it around the gym, just your whole demeanor, and your physique, and your energy, and
everything.
Optimism. But I think that, again, comes from a place of experience, which, judging from what you shared and what the listeners are probably gathering, your experience wasn't all sunshine and rainbows growing up, right? But you learned from it and applied it, right? And even when it comes to cutting out people, the way that I kind of have looked at or described it to a few people, not that I'm anywhere near to qualified to give everybody the same advice you are, but it's like, if that person was like the reason that you didn't accomplish all these things in life, are you going to let that one person have that much control over you. Like, think about that. Like, in 20 years from now, when you think back and look back, hey, like, I wish I would have stuck with the gym. I wish I would have done all these things, done that 5K run or done those things, but I didn't because Bob, sorry Bob, if there's a Bob listening, but because Bob, I wanted to please Bob, and now Bob and I separated anyway 5 years later, or we're not even friends or not even good friends, because I've had really good friends and I've wanted to keep in touch with, and we still somehow lose touch every now and then, so I just don't like giving other people that much control over me, especially when it's like a negative control.
Yeah, I got really lucky, and like my core group of best friends that I get to reconnect with now because I get to work in Saskatoon, I've had them since I was 16, right? And then recently I've reconnected with one of my other friends from high school, and it truly reminded me of the great parts of me, because I always say when you're with people and you keep that bond, it's two reasons, right? You're getting something from them you enjoy, or you're with them because you missed a piece of what that was back then, right? And lucky for me, it's been reminding me of that happy person I was in high school, right? Like I was always tap dancing down the halls and whatever. And I've kind of lost that thing in Milford because I feel like I've had to, I owned a business that was very public, right? Yeah. So I couldn't say what I needed to say because I needed you to buy my blizzards.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not going to say that it was fake, but I also have to stay back from what I want to say. Yeah. And now that I don't have that, I get to be who I am, and it doesn't change my paycheck.
Yeah, well, and I can relate almost 100% because I was a teacher for a long time, and I found it very, very draining on that, again, outside perspective. And when I got this job that brought me to the area, it was in Star City, and I damn well knew I didn't want to live in Star City because I knew as soon as I walked around the town, as soon as people saw me, instantly they think of me as a teacher.
Yeah.
Where when I was in Tisdale, which isn't that far away, I hardly bumped into any of the parents or the kids, and people just wanted to know me who I was. I joined slow pitch, so I get that fresh start, that ability to say and do. Now I own the business now, so then in the last few years it's been great, but I'm starting to get that whole like, oh, people are now seeing me on that filter of the business guy. So at the same time, it's like, draining. Sometimes I get in here and I try to hide away, or I want to sneak away, but it's been hard to get away the last few years, and especially when I'm growing a business and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I worked 8 months straight at Dairy Queen without a day off. And I bought it. Yeah.
So, speaking of teachers, we got the teacher strike coming on. I don't know if we want to dive into that or not.
Sure.
But, so we got that going on in Saskatchewan right now. So this will be like, for those that maybe are watching out of Saskatchewan, teachers are striking here. Ice skate teacher. I would have been for the strike if I was in there for certain reasons, but I also understand now on the other side of stuff, some of the stuff that might not be so agreeing with on the strike side of stuff. But you have kids in the school, so
I do.
How is that with them? What's their demeanor with it? Or you don't need to speak on, but how is it having kids in the...
So one of the things, I guess, I work with Youth Matter Canada. So that's a nonprofit organization that was started in Melfort over COVID to ensure mental health for youth, because we need connection. We can't put people in houses for 2 years and then think kids are going to turn out okay. No. You just can't. So now these teachers are dealing with this backlash of COVID isolation and what it's done to these children. I have made my children understand that we are behind the teachers 110%. I'm lucky enough that my son is coached by teachers, and they're Tim Johnstone, you're the best. His wife Lindsay has really done a really good job of making sure that we understand. But because I work on the mental health side of things, I can see how absolutely terrible some of these kids are doing. And there's no EAs, there's no support, there's months to see a psychologist. It's just fucked in general. And you can't put 27 kids in a classroom that have such varied educational understanding, emotional regulation, and all these things, and expect one guy to be able to teach this general topic to them all and have them do well.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like one of the teachers I was talking to, my son's coach, he figured it out because he has no EAs, not one in his class.
That's how I was. No EAs.
He has a minute and a half per student. And he said there's some that I don't even get to talk to because some kids are so far behind from COVID. They get 18 of my minutes, and that means the other 9 kids aren't going to even get to see me. And he said, and it's not that those kids, like my son, luckily he's very intelligent. He doesn't need you to check his work.
Yeah.
But you might want to check in on him
Yeah.
right? Because it's nice for teachers to have rapport with their students.
For sure.
And when you can't even do that, how do you go to work the next day knowing that you're 19 minutes behind every day with these kids?
Yeah. Well, and it compounds too, right? So
Yeah.
then it gets pushed on to the next year. The next year, there's no set plan to fix it.
I mean, I'm super for kids failing. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I'm a baby boomer in certain things, and that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have, like, one of my friend's kids failed history, and now she just gets to move on. And I'm like, but she failed. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean she gets to move
I
on?
know.
Like, whose problem does that become? And then when she graduates, like, you're not getting in university with those grades. Are you going to go back and redo? Like, I just can't.
Well, then the other part too, it's not everyone's shooting for university, but the skill set and determination. Because I'll be honest, like, school's pretty easy.
Oh, it's crazy
We
now.
make it really easy
Oh,
for
it's
them.
stupid.
And you're given way too many chances. in
Way
life.
too many.
But it's like, if you can't make it through all that, you're still failing, then there's a lot of deep down stuff that you need to work on. So hopefully, I'm not saying it's gonna for sure lead to happiness because things go on, but like when you learn those skill sets of determination, success, learning from failures and going through and stuff, reflecting and growing, that makes you a better human at the end of the day. We just don't have, as teachers, all the systems to support that 100%.
Well, and it's also crazy to me because I employed teenagers. That was like literally how I ran my business. And when they could just hand things in 6 weeks late with no
Yeah.
repercussions, like I had a teacher, if your shit was on his desk at 9:01 on the day that stuff was due, it was late.
Yeah.
And it was 10% right off the
Yeah.
top. And I'm like, what do you mean you can just hand that in? And I'm like, no wonder you suck at work.
Yeah.
Because you can just do it whenever you want to. Well, that's not how a job works. You can't just make that blizzard whenever, right? Or clean that whenever. Like, they have no time management skills. They have a very low stress tolerance because of the lack of time management and deadlines. And then you put them in the real world, and they all have mental breakdowns, anxiety, and depression.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, like that transitioning
Oh.
to out there.
Yeah. And
but-
it's not the teacher's fault because they're not allowed to fail these kids.
Yeah. Well, and then on the teacher side of stuff, I don't know if this was really well portrayed or it's public stuff is sometimes so slow moving that the world is moving way quicker than the school system can change. So I can see the disconnect there. But the whole, this is the reasoning, I don't know if that is a way to hear people listening, of why you're not allowed to like fail kids for late or deduct marks is because you're supposed to, like when it says science, whatever, you're grading them under science knowledge. So if they know this stuff, then we don't want to penalize them. So then we try to separate the knowledge grade with a behavior grade. But I don't know if that comes through very well on the...
It's dumb.
Yeah, that's what they, like, well, they
And if
clearly
you
know
took
this
6 weeks
stuff.
longer to know it, then yeah, I would hope you did better than me who did it on time.
But at the end of the grade, as a teacher, what we're supposed to do is try to get them to know by the end of the year. And then that's like, now it's on us versus it being on the kids and on the flip
The lack
side,
of responsibility.
on the families,
Yeah.
which is the other point. And then there's a whole, it's a mess, right?
It's a
like,
mess.
you got kids that can't read or write in grade 7 or 8. And when they go home, I mean, I remember going home and having to learn how to like say or spell words because I sucked at it. And my parents made sure that I was doing it. Not everyone has that same support at home.
No, I can definitely honor the fact that like not every child is given the same gift of having family that's supportive. But like the crazy thing, like my kids have gone to a certain elementary school and their policy is no homework.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, so that has been one of my nemesises because my son now literally sees homework as like the biggest punishment that's ever happened to him. He has zero time management skills based upon the fact that he had 8 years of never having to do it. That's 8 years of not bringing home his backpack, not making sure his science was in his bag, making sure he knew what things were because it didn't apply to him. And now when it happens, it's like literally a freaking meltdown. And I'm like, this was the dumbest rule. I mean, I'm not saying kids need to go home and do 4 hours of homework every night. Like, they need lives. But, like, the no homework rule has failed him in ways that,
That'll be tough to recuperate from. I mean, it's
I don't think he ever will.
possible. You got this, Carson. Come on.
Come on, buddy.
I'm rooting for you.
Oh.
But yeah, that whole, so again, I'll give you like the teacher side of it because I was on all the sides of the discussions for years. But it's like the no homework thing is like, well, we don't want to send. Sometimes teachers be like, you got to do this, it sucks because it gets ruined by a few examples, and then all of a sudden it ges blown into proportion. So some of the examples are like, well, we don't want to give kids this task to do at home. Let's say it's you need to count all your tiles at home and do these things and do that, and or they could do it at home or at the school. Let's give them family time at home versus this. But it was never supposed to be intended, at least in my discussions, where if a kid's being lazy in class and they're not working on their assignments, guess what? You still need to take that home, and that's what the homework is. So it's like assigned homework, like do this at home, which I kind of like sometimes. I remember one was like brush your teeth. It's like, my parents used to give me a little sticker when I brushed my teeth. But those kind of homework tasks were supposed to be taken out to give family work. But when you're lazy and you're not doing your stuff, or you're just not necessarily lazy but don't get it at school, take that home because the school time wasn't enough and then do that. So that's kind of the tip.
Well, and I mean, if you think about it, when you go to university, like if you think that you're not going to have to do homework, like even at SciAsk, I'm not even saying university, right? Like you're not going to go to plumbing trade school and not have to study and do shit at home. It's just not going to happen. And if you don't build those skills younger, it's much, much harder to build them when you're older.
And that goes with other, not just school, but let's say you want to do like a business or something like that. Like you're working outside of business hours
all the time.
Or if you want to advance in a business, you start want to say you want to be a really good sales rep or something like that. You're probably studying on your own time on how to do this. That's essentially that skill that of working outside the slotted time, how you're going to get ahead of people. I mean, I don't know if there's ever like a perfect way to fix that. I'm sure there'll be always things on that, but and in a nutshell, the school system's messed up. Let's see how the strike goes.
We'll see. We brought coffee and donuts the last time to them, so we'll see what we do this time. Hopefully it's not as cold for them.
I wish them the best, and I'm glad I'm out of there. I'll end it off with that.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so let's wrap it up then here real quick with you talking about some of your fitness kind of goals moving forward, and I'll kind of share a few of mine. And then maybe I like to kind of like talk a little bit about like what we can expect maybe from ourselves, but then challenge the viewers to like, hey, set some goals, work towards those goals. So what's a goal you got right now?
Well, I actually am booked in for a show May 25th in Calgary.
A show?
Yeah, I'm doing my final bodybuilding show. So before my last show, I won the UFE Glamour division and I won my ticket to Worlds. Then I got cancer and then everything derailed forever and I used it as an excuse. So I'm not gonna like, don't feel bad for me. I put the donuts in my mouth myself. But my daughter has always said, like, I just want one more show. Like, she's never wanted cancer to take my last show from me. So, May 25th. So I'm, 20 weeks out right now. So, I'm down 36 pounds. And, glutes training 3 times a week. Back and biceps once. Chest, shoulders, and delts is another day. And then cardio core and get back again. So, and I gave up coffee 11 days ago. Switched it for greens powders. That's a new goal. And I feel so much better.
Nice.
So that's kind of what I'm working on right now physically.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's cool. So then you got yourself a target, you got yourself a plan, and then as the journey goes along, we'll see how it goes. Well, good luck. I got a couple of things I want to work on this year. One is I want to get my abs.
Well, I have to too.
So I think we got a little challenge here to go by April. So abs by April was my thing. You got your show in May.
So I need abs by May 24th.
It's like, come on, baby, we got this. We can support people along the way. We tried the support thing once before. It didn't really work out.
You sucked at it.
I know. It's like, let's do this, and then
let's
it's
do
just
it.
like,
And then, no, I didn't.
So that's one. I want to look like.
You go to gym.
I do though, because I think people will have more trust in me being able to help them if I look the part. Not saying you have to look the part, because I look at, like, let's say all these NFL coaches.
They look like dad, grandpas.
Exactly, with like bellies that are out the air, but they know their shit.
They know the game.
Exactly. But I if it was like someone coming into the gym and I look that way and they're like, oh, I'm going to tell you how to get started to get moving, and I'm sitting back there not looking or moving myself. So that's that whole pressure being, but I still want to look good, feel good, because I know it's going to help me.
It changes everything. And I think it works really well for me as a therapist as well, just because, like, if you can come in and see that I clearly take care of myself, mind, body, and soul, I'm probably better at listening to you. And I'm not saying that, like, someone who is overweight isn't a good counselor. it just shows that like I'm doing all the things that I'm telling you
Yeah,
to do.
that little bit of lived life that you're
Yeah.
trying to portray.
And it's a lot easier to teach spin 36 pounds down.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if looking at both of us, we both want to feel successful and feel well about ourselves. So just because we want to look good and portray that goodness for other people, so I think that's just the goal of us to help other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in my selfish way, I'm looking good to help you, so then I feel better about myself. Sorry, but
okay.
the other one I want to do is I hope I get into the pool this year and learn how to actually like swim.
Oh, I
lanes.
can't swim.
Yeah, like I want to learn how to like do the breath swimmy thing.
Oh,
Just-
like you're gonna go baby Phelps.
Yeah. I got that little mini lesson last summer, and I ran my marathon,
Yeah.
and so I was like, you know what would be something cool that I could try at least a little challenge for the summer. So I'm hoping to at least just learn so I could, because I was like choking up water.
Yeah, dude, I can't. I'm not a swimmer.
yeah.
No, not at all.
We'll see how that goes. So that'll be one of my goals. So one, get abs, and then two, I can show off the abs in the pool and I can swim.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah. So
That's
those,
awesome.
those are a couple of my goals for fitness wise as well.
perfect. I love that for you.
Cool. All right. So, is there any last little words of stuff you want to share on here? We've been going for.
Yeah, so I guess definitely I would love to see people in my spin class. It's one of my favorite things. I think one thing we didn't touch on is that I do really, I feel like women empowerment and males, if you come,
Yeah.
is one of the things that I'm actually really good at. And that's what draws people to my class, is that I do incorporate mental health and fitness all into the same thing, because you can't separate mind and body.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so that is definitely my style, and it's very dancey and it's very fun. So I would love to see more people try the class.
Yes, definitely. And then when they try it, don't beat yourself up too much because
Yeah.
it's a journey, and just be happy that.
Yeah, and I never want someone to come into my class feeling like they owe me anything. Like, don't be there for me and don't try to push yourself for me. I want you to be there for yourself and enjoy that 45 minutes of fitness, doing the best you can today.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
There we
thank you
go.
for getting on the show.
Yeah, thanks,
and
B.
we'll talk to you guys in the next episode. I'm not sure what's going on in the next one, but we'll see you there.